Welcome. Hello, and this is Another Frakkin Podcast. I'm Joseph Say, and I'm here with my co-hosts.
Hi,
Marty.
I'm Dan.
If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. If you're tuning in again, thank you so much. We're so glad to have you back. Today's episode is A Mirror Darkly. We'll be discussing different fictional universes and whether we would like to live in them or not. Are they good? Are they bad? Are they just fun? Okay, and we're back. So, good universes. I had a really hard time with this, but
This was difficult.
yeah,
It was only difficult because Joseph already chose the one I was going to choose. So then it was difficult.
Right. Only one of us could pick Star Trek. So two of us had a hard time.
yeah, it was kind of unfair. But Van, you actually picked yours first and didn't pick Star Trek, so
I understand. I made it hard on myself.
I think the one thing about choosing this was that was hard was that I realized there are so many fandoms and worlds that I love, but then I would never want to live in.
I feel that deeply because so many of them I'm like, oh, this is so much fun. I love watching this. I would die. Or I would have a bad time. Like, this would be miserable. I don't want to do this.
I feel like some of y'all's choices are very interesting.
I'm actually curious to see if we're going to have like a discussion here about why it's not good or why that one isn't bad. Because I look at some of them, I think like, okay, I see why you think that's a bad place.
Oh, I'm
given the option between my current life and living there. I'd probably choose the fandom world, despite how horrible it is.
I think we'll have some interesting conversations, especially around Joseph's bad world.
Yes. I anticipate we will disagree heavily.
It'll be all right.
Okay. So let's start off with Van. You picked Doctor Who.
I did. And I think in general, just being an everyday person in the Doctor Who world, I think that would be pretty okay. In general, the Doctor swoops in and saves the day, and it turns out mostly good for mostly everybody. To be a super cool like main character in that world would also be super fun. Like I would love the Doctor's version of time travel is probably one of my favorites. I know we're going to talk about time travel in a later episode. But yeah, I love the TARDIS. I love that he's bouncing around through time and space. I mean, it's an amazing world. I would like to say that, you know, I want to be in the Doctor Who part of the universe or even the Sarah Jane Adventures. There was a teenage show, I think it was in the mid 2000s called, I think, The Class, which only had one season, but I loved it. But it was geared towards teenagers, so it wasn't, you know, like super dark. I think it would have been a great show if it continued. Any of those worlds would be great, but like if we get into the Torchwood side of the Doctor Who universe, I'm less certain I want to live in that one.
Okay, so it's the same universe, but you're right. Torchwood is definitely a very dark vibe of the Doctor Who side of things.
See, I think I would thrive in the Torchwood universe. I don't know. I think, like, for me, I just feel like it's nonstop crazy, but like, I don't know, interesting crazy. I don't know that I'd want to live there, but I feel like I could make a life there if I was in the group.
Yeah. I don't know. I would probably not want to be in the group because they don't seem to live.
Fair.
Like, it's pretty rough for them, honestly.
Yeah. I mean,
I
thing I
certainly
had with
wouldn't want to be friends with Jack. I mean, I love Jack, but like everyone around him dies.
that's the thing. Like, so many of my favorite characters ended up just dying, and it was like a gut punch because that doesn't really happen with the Doctor, and with Jack, it seems like just everybody dies horribly. Um,
Yeah.
and I'll be honest, like I didn't watch the final season of Torchwood that aired on like was it HBO or something? It was like random.
I can't remember if it was HBO or Showtime, but it aired in the US and
Or
the
Stars.
vibes were even darker.
Yeah.
It's a rough one. It's
Was
rough.
I will say though, I am a little bit conflicted about whether I would do well living in like Doctor Who's, like the good side of the world, like not the Torchwood side, but the Doctor Who side. If I wasn't the Doctor, I don't know if I would be satisfied just being a companion. Like that, just being called a companion by itself bothers me. I feel like I want to be an iteration of the Doctor.
That would be so much fun. I would happily be a Martha character that travels with the Doctor for a while and then is like, dude, you're kind of toxic towards me. I'm gonna go do fun alien stuff without you.
She did get a good role after him. I have to admit,
like
she like superseded like companion level. I did her storyline. That was good. Good point.
I kind of also like Donna's storyline because she was a companion. She stuck with the Doctor. It was kind of tragic, but I think the resolution in the newer season was like perfect for me. I like this comment from Ryan. It was on HBO and it was too American. Like,
Yeah, Torchwood was too American in its last season. Yeah, I don't necessarily want to live in the Torchwood universe, but the Doctor Who universe I think would be good. And I think if you were just an everyday person, you wouldn't even realize you were living in the Doctor Who universe because they really seem to just forget that aliens exist constantly. After seeing proof constantly, they're like, aliens? What are those? Oh my goodness, this is weird.
But that kind of tracks with our civilization, doesn't it? Because I feel like if aliens were to show up, we'd just be like, okay, moving on. When's the next season of the House of the Dragon coming out? The aliens didn't bring it to us, so
we do get easily distracted by things. And without going political, it's like, oh, this is a world-ending level possible event that we have decades to solve, but we're going to be focused on the Real Housewives or sports ball or something ridiculous. And I think the Doctor even says in one season that humanity is just really good about ignoring the things that are just too overwhelming, like Daleks invading or Cybermen, and it'll just fall into the back of the consciousness. And like if they pop up again, people will be like, "Oh yeah, that one time that happened." It's like, are we really that?
No, I mean, having gone through some therapy personally for trauma, no, we actually just do that. We're actually like, oh no, this is difficult to deal with. I'm going to put it in a box in the back of my brain and then my brain can't access it. No, it's
But this is a perfect example of why when I was trying to come up with all of these worlds, when I was trying to, okay, what is the good world that I would want to live in? I had to really stop and be like, okay, I have to recognize that if I'm going to live in this world, I don't want to just be the average person in that world because there are so many worlds that seem on the outside to be fantastic to live in. The Marvel universe, for example, awesome. Unless you're just a normal person and your house gets like trashed by the Avengers, you know? So, and I think the Doctor Who world specifically for me, because I thought about Doctor Who as well, I was like, if I'm not the Doctor, if I'm not in the TARDIS, if I'm not a companion, if I'm not somebody important or involved in the action, I would be really kind of sad living in that world because I would be one of those people that's just like, oh, alien mannequins took over the mall again, guys. I'll just forget about that next week. I still have to go shopping. Still gotta pay bills.
Is this why I don't like clowns? Like, have we had clown level events? And it's not that I'm scared of clowns. Like, I hate clowns.
I feel like that Wonka event in Scotland was probably a clown level event. You guys,
yeah. Well, I mean, we did have that summer where like people dressed as clowns were jumping out of the woods and like chasing people. So like
that's true.
And I forgot all about that, by the way.
Maybe we are living in the Doctor Who world.
We forgot all about that.
I think we are living in the Doctor Who universe.
You know what? We actually might be in the Doctor Who universe. That's true.
You know, and then when you think about like flash mobs, suddenly people like singing and dancing. I mean, that feels like very Doctor Who as well. I mean, I guess now I can't be surprised if suddenly find like I open the door and there's like just a skin hanging on a platform talking to me. I guess.
Yeah.
I'm just like, where's the adipose treatment? Or is that Wegovy? Like, anyway, I'm just gonna keep on ignoring the fact that maybe we actually are in the Doctor Who universe, and
we actually might be, and I'm totally okay with that. As long as it's not steering in a Torchwood direction, I think overall we'll be fine.
Okay, but this comment from Mara. Alien? No, that was just an odd breed of dog. Everyone who wants nothing to do with aliens. I feel like...
Yeah.
I mean, are you guys not on Skinwalker's TikTok? Because like I get these videos all the time where they pop up and it looks like some creepy thing out of the woods, and then everybody's like, "That's just a dog." I'm like, "That's not a dog. That's not a dog, guys."
I very deliberately am not on that part of TikTok. Like I actively try to stay off of that part of TikTok because sure, that's a dog. No.
Or the things that wash up on beaches. It's like, oh, that's just a whale. I'm like, how does a whale turn out looking like that?
I feel like a lot of news stories are just people gaslighting us, like trying to convince us it's normal. So like the more we talk, the more I'm just convinced now we are actually already in the Doctor Who universe. And I have complete faith in the Doctor, so we're fine.
I mean, I think that's the great thing about the Doctor Who universe. That's why it does fall in the good category for me as well, because you know that he's going to make it right. The Doctor is always going to figure it out. There's going to be a solution. It's going to get fixed. And us normal people can still go on living despite Daleks and Cybermen and crazy.
Yeah, I have to agree with Athena here. Like, we are in some shifted existence.
I can't even argue with that. It's fine.
Okay, but
as I say, Justin's comment here.
Yeah, go for it.
I also would not want to be taken out by a Dalek. But you know what? I actually, from the very first time that I started watching Doctor Who, I always kind of felt bad for the Daleks. I know you're not supposed to feel bad for them, but I always kind of was like, I think I could live with the Daleks. I think I could change him. I could change him.
I could change him. I could make him worse. Put your apex predator down, Joseph. No one wants to see a weeping angel. I would much rather be killed by a Dalek than by the Cybermen, because like they don't necessarily just kill you.
They simulate you.
And the Daleks really don't want to do that.
They just want you dead. Like, would you want to exist as a Cyberman? No?
No, I would not want to be a Cyberman, which is why I would rather be killed by a Dalek. Like, ugh.
But what if you had to live in the universe as a Dalek? If you had to live in the Doctor Who universe as a Dalek, is that okay?
I mean, that would probably be fun, running around with a little whisk exterminating people. What's the hate about that? Committing war crimes as like a hobby?
Plunger.
Yeah, the plunger and the whisk.
Look, I would not have wanted to be a Dalek until the new Doctor Who, where they could like float and levitate.
Yeah, now that stairs aren't a problem, you're like, right? Okay, I'll be a Dalek. I can handle stairs now.
Because I grew up with classic Doctor Who, and then I got into the new one, and when he first the Dalek first says levitate and they like rises, I was screaming at the TV because like forever. The joke was, it's like, well, just run up the stairs and you'll be fine. I don't know that I want Stephen Moffat to write Doctor Who if I'm living in that universe, though.
I mean, maybe not. I don't know.
I'm torn. Like, Moffat's done some good, but
I like the changing of writers. I think for a universe, that's important.
yeah, it's like comic books. You have to have a fresh perspective every so often.
Yeah,
I agree.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Let's move on.
Moving
Joseph.
on.
You
Me, yes. So I picked Star Trek, because why wouldn't I pick Star Trek?
I mean, I can't argue.
Okay. So Trek is like the perfect version of humanity in the future. Now, I did sit there and think deeply about, okay, but I'm not in that future. I am in the pre-World War III, pre-Khan world, which means up until we get past this horrible thing, it's kind of just our universe, and kind of like the worst version of our universe, with the understanding that we'll get past it and it'll be helpful. And for me, it's like that hopefulness, the future that's going to be positive, is totally worth it. Like, we obviously know that humanity has issues and we have things that we have to deal with. So yeah, I had to pick the Trek universe, and I want to live in that universe. I want to be a person who survives the Bell riots and all of the other things that need to come through, so that we can, start on the positive path.
I think being anyone in the Star Trek universe within the Federation it would be pretty good. I would love to have like a vineyard on Earth and just hang out and play in the dirt and
replicators,
make wine.
Replicators,
and transporters.
Yes.
Oh.
Right? Like we could be doing a podcast in somebody's like living room together instantaneously.
I mean, for me, Star Trek it's the best universe to live in, because you can literally be anybody in that universe. You can be anything you want to be in that universe and still get to be on spaceships. Like, you don't have to just be an engineer and be on a spaceship. Like, you could have any career and serve on a starship, I remember when I was younger, there was one episode of The Next Generation where there's one character who's like a literature guy. And he has one episode. But I'm like, the humanities. They've got the humanities on starships because they recognize that is also important. You can go to and study archaeology and become the captain of the greatest starship in the fleet. So I mean, like, I feel like the opportunities there are for everybody, and that's something that is, to me, is just like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I can't argue with any of that.
And it's like, there's no currency, so you're just working for the betterment of humanity overall, right? Like, that's so appealing. Like, if I could do anything in the world and not have to worry about bills and, like how much I'm getting paid, I think my life would be significantly different. I don't know that I would be doing cybersecurity. I would probably be digging up some alien tomb and learning about a long extinct culture or something. I'd be like Space Indiana Jones, I think. Like,
you're Vosh.
Exactly. Like, okay. Vosh is a Tomb Raider.
It's the opposite of it belongs in a museum.
Opposite of it belongs in a museum. I mean, I love that you could be full-time anything nerdy and not have to worry about making rent. Yeah. That is, I think, one of the things that really appeals to me. The other side of that is, in a lot of other universes, there's not a lot of good representation, right? And so I'm going to point that out. There are some that there's great representation, but growing up, one of the reasons I'm into Trek is like my mom would let me stay up late, and I got to sit there and watch Star Trek with her, the original series, in the 80s. And I got to see like Sulu and Uhura on the bridge, and it wasn't weird to have like a black doctor or like just any culture represented. And I didn't realize how much of an impact that had on me, but being as old as I am, growing up in the 80s, remembering watching sitcoms, and it's like it's just all white people or all this or all like it was not diverse. And this was like something that was filmed 20 years before I was born. So it's pretty awesome, I think.
I think a lot of people who get upset at newer Star Trek being very diverse forget how incredibly strategically diverse TOS was. It was very intentional. Chekhov was very intentional. They
Yeah.
like were like, oh, there's a Russian guy on the bridge. Okay. No, that was intentional. That was
Yeah.
thought out. That was planned. That was, radical for the time. Yeah, Star Trek and its diversity, A+.
One of the things that had the biggest impact on me was at one point Kirk looks at Uhura and says, like, take the station. And so she sits in like the navigator's station. And it's just like doing the stuff. And it wasn't like it was just normal. Like she was trained on every station on the bridge as a bridge officer. And it just kind of reiterated that, yeah, her primary responsibility was communications, but she could fly the ship if she had to. She could navigate the ship. She could fire, like she could defend the ship. It was so intentional. Everything about that show is so intentional. And yeah, it's just obviously we all love Trek. I mean, we all met through
Obviously.
Trek Talk. Obviously, this is amazing. Like just a commentary here. Like, let that be your last battlefield. Like, so impactful. And it bothers me that we have so many people recently who have like tried to stir up this, like, oh, Trek is too woke now. It's like
always
the first
been that way.
interracial kiss on TV, American TV, was on Trek, and now we're woke. What are you kidding me? I just.
I had this discussion recently after our convention trip, Joseph. A lot of the people who grew up watching the original series, and even from then until Voyager, were very, very quote unquote woke for their time. But a lot of those people that grew up with those are so proud of themselves for being open-minded, but they didn't go past Voyager. And so Trek kept moving forward. It is continuing to be super open-minded. And they stopped.
Yeah. People are selectively blind. Mara's absolutely right. And that, I don't know what it was about stopping in the 90s. It's like, okay, the 90s is the pinnacle of like progress, and then we're going to ignore everything that happens afterwards. And it's like, wow. I love that Trek has continued to move forward, and I love that it has continued to challenge like my own like beliefs and my flaws. Growing up, being the age I am, I wasn't exposed to a lot of things in a positive light that I have been exposed to now since the 90s, right? So like between 2000 and now, like society has come so far in welcoming and being open to people. And I love this progress, and I love being able to grow along with my favorite shows, like my favorite fandom. Yeah.
Something that I never recognized as a young person watching Trek, but has struck me nowadays, especially with new Trek, is just how much in the Trek universe technology serves mankind. Technology allows mankind to do these things, to live the life they want to live, not mankind serving technology, which I feel like is something we're kind of in the middle of right now in our culture, that the technology that's being created isn't allowing people to have more spare time to become artists or to follow their passions or to spend time with their families. But in the Trek universe, that's the point of technology. Technology is there so that we can do the things that humans are meant to do.
Yep.
Create,
Absolutely.
Explore.
That's why we have to have the belt riots and World War III. We gotta shift our perspective.
Yeah.
And I mean, unfortunately, it's true because right now we are looking at, and so this is very near and dear to my heart, right? Like technology can be used to do amazing good, to enable so many things, to streamline processes that are important. Food distribution throughout the world, just communicating, keeping informed of different cultures throughout the world, right? Instantaneously through things like social media, right? But then we also see I see the dark side of technology where it's being used to like farm credentials and attack people and steal identity and
or AI taking jobs from artists.
Taking jobs.
Yeah.
And that is very significant because it's a handful of people who control the companies that make the technology. And do they have the right motivation? And some of them do, and some of them definitely do not. And I'm not going to get into names because we will be here speaking about this all day. And so, like in the Star Trek universe, that was dealt with because these, and they had modified humans that were the villain in this, but that's just like ultra powerful people. Mary's point, exactly that. The whole idea of Trek is that we are evolving and growing as human, and eventually galactic civilization to be stopped in the 90s is antithetical to Trek. I mean, absolutely.
That's something I actually really appreciate that Strange New Worlds has kind of pushed on. The fact they had that episode Tomorrow, where they actually pushed up the timeline of the events in the back. They pushed up Khan's timeline, and I thought that was very smart on their part to do because it's kind of shows us that this world is only possible if we as a civilization now make the changes necessary to allow that world to come into fruition. And I 100% agree with you on all of those points.
And this is why it's my favorite universe, because they are constantly redefining what it means to be a fan of Trek and pushing these important points that people just kind of gloss over. And look, you don't have to like every single Trek show, right? Like I'm not saying that you have to like every Trek, but if you stop with the 90s, you're doing yourself a disservice. You should at least be open to like something new.
Especially Prodigy.
Prodigy.
My God.
It was
Prodigy?
so good. If you have not watched season 2 of Prodigy, please watch season 2 of Prodigy. It's amazing.
And if you're not following Kate Mulgrew on her social medias, you should, because she's been pushing to get Prodigy a 3rd season.
I need 20 seasons of this show if they are half as good as season 2. And I'll say that it's so good.
But I mean, that show, Prodigy, by itself, that is the epitome of all Star Trek. It explains exactly why this universe is so fantastic, because it takes characters who are in a position where you would think their life is never going to be something great, and they have that opportunity to be the people that they want to be and to follow the passions that they have and to grow up in a world that respects them as individuals. And I just think Prodigy is the epitome of Trek right now.
It really is.
100%.
And the fact that it's targeted for young children is even better, right?
Yes.
It's like let's hit the kids when they're young and tell them you can be anything you want to be. Doesn't matter what you look like. Doesn't matter what your background is. You can do anything.
But also to show it to them in a way that's sustainable, because I feel like a lot of people from our generation, at least I remember being young and people saying you can be whatever you want to be, but then not giving me the tools I needed to become the things I wanted to be. And I feel like Prodigy shows children, look, yes, you can be everything you want to be, but these are the things you have to do that. You have to, work hard. You have to find people. You have to surround yourself with people who are also helping you pursue your goals. And you have to help them pursue their goals. Yeah, it's a group community effort sometimes.
And it's okay to make mistakes.
Exactly.
It's okay to make big mistakes as long as you work together to fix the fallout. You can get past it. And I think that alone from season 2.
Yeah.
Oh,
so powerful.
But also seeing adults make mistakes. Without doing any spoilers, seeing the mistakes that Janeway made, seeing the mistakes that Chakotay made, and seeing them through the lens of a younger person, through a child, and recognizing, oh, hey, I make mistakes, grown-ups make mistakes, we can all learn from it, we can all become better.
And then to see grown-ups learning from kids, which I feel like a lot of media doesn't portray, but I know personally, constantly, I don't have kids, but I have younger siblings. Like my youngest brother's 19 years younger. And then I've helped tutor and mentor youth activists, right? Like I learned so much from people decades younger than me. And their interactions inspire me to be a better person. And to see that on Star Trek is amazing.
Yes. I love it.
Okay, we could talk about Star Trek all day.
We could talk about Prodigy all day.
Good.
We could talk about Janeway
all day.
Yeah, we could talk
Janeway all day should be the title of that episode.
Yeah, we should have a full episode on Janeway. I'm
not arguing. Ooh, so pretty.
Get in the gates.
Yes. So this is my choice because I couldn't choose Star Trek, and I really struggled choosing a world that I was like, what do I want to live in? Because again, like I said, I had to think about what is a world where I feel like I have a purpose, where I can be involved in the action, where I feel like I'm constantly learning, but I'm also surrounded by people who are helping me learn. And I feel like Stargate, especially Stargate Atlantis, and I'm going to specifically say Stargate Atlantis is the world I would like to live in, because I just love, first of all, it has a lot of aspects of Star Trek, the world itself, but also just the fact that you've got all of these people from different cultures, different countries, different planets working together for a same goal, learning about the technology together, growing together, discovering the similarities across galaxies and across universes. Stargate has more, well, at least when it started, has more of that militaristic beginning. But I feel like that world is going in the direction of a Star Trek world. And I think it would be really exciting to be a part of that from the beginning, to say that you are one of the scientists or researchers involved in that. And I don't know, Star Trek is just like Stargate, like Star Trek. I feel like it's a hopeful world. It's a world where we agree that if we work together and put our differences aside, we are going to achieve something great. And I also just want to walk through that. I want to walk through the gate. I want to feel that woozy, watery, whatever.
I have been obsessed.
Like Capri Sun substance.
Yeah.
I want to go through the Capri Sun. Yeah, I saw the movie in theaters as a kid, and it was funny because I remember when I saw the movie, I told my mom I was young, and I told my mom I want to go to the movies, and she's like, "What do you want to see?" And there was like nothing out there, and I was like, "This looks interesting." My mom had no idea, and after the movie, she was like, "I still don't know what I just watched," but I was like, "I'm here. I'm locked in. Chevron's locked. Let's go." This was cool.
Yeah, it's a positive bridge from where we are to where we could be.
Ooh, I like that. Yes.
I love that.
It is a very hopeful show.
It's a wild show. It's a show that had like such a an impact on me at the time that I really connected with it. I remember I've talked to Joseph about this before off the podcast, but like when I started watching SG-1, I literally was like, am I going to enlist tomorrow? Like it gave me a sense of patriotism that I never really experienced before, but I was like, I have to remind myself that I'm feeling patriotic towards a fictional universe, not necessarily the world that I live in. But like I really loved the camaraderie between the characters in all of the Stargate universe, all of the shows. I think there's such a beautiful bond between those people, and they all come from very different places and very different backgrounds, and I just love that. Yeah.
What I love the most about it is that it's just regular people figuring out some really cool stuff initially to then expand their life. It's like, okay, so Samantha Carter, again, probably one of my 2 favorite people within
Queen.
Stargate, period. Absolutely Queen. Daniel Jackson's the other, but I think more earlier Daniel Jackson than later Daniel Jackson.
Valid.
Because I liked earlier Daniel Jackson because he was just like this moral compass nerd.
Yeah.
That is like very much how I would be on this thing. It's like, you can't do that. That's horrible. We've got to save these people. We've got to do the right thing. Like, I love him. I mean, Carter is just the nerd queen, period. So these characters like really drew me in. And I like Jack, I like Teal'c, but I really identified with Carter and Daniel the most. And even in the other shows, like there's always somebody who you can identify with. And oddly enough, McKay was somebody I kind of identified with. And I know he's not the nicest person in the world, but he wants to be. Yeah. And it's weird because your first interactions, he's just like, oh, this guy's a jerk. But then you find out it's like, man, no, he's probably on the spectrum. He's neurospicy. And at the end of the day, he's doing all the things he can to be good.
I think kind of going along with that, like Star Trek, Stargate is the only show I can think of where every time I do a rewatch at different stages of my life, I feel a connection to a different character, because I feel like I grow, and then as I grow into like different phases of my own life, I connect with a different character that I didn't before because they are in that phase of their life on the show as well. So like the very first time I watched Stargate, I mean, like I was like, it's all about Jack. Whatever, everybody else. Like I'm on the Richard Dean Anderson train. But yeah, it's the second rewatch, I'm like, oh, it's all about Sam. It's all about Daniel for me. Like, and I feel like I can see like the growth of my own character through the characters that I connect with on the show with every time I watch it.
Okay, so I've got to show this from Christina because like I said earlier, Daniel, totally cool. And he was in love and he tried to do everything he could for his wife who had been taken. But he was a jerk to the women in his life later. Like he had lots of problematic views. And that's why it's like he relates to me in some ways, but then in other ways it has to be Carter. And like you said, like I take something from each character as I go through a stage in my life. And when I was younger, I probably would have said Daniel completely, like fully on board. And I've kind of grown out of that. It's such a well-written show. And we discussed this last episode, right? You need all 4 of them to be a perfect team. It doesn't work without those characters. And I know like the last 2 seasons had different characters in there, but they kind of filled that role and they integrated into a cohesive team. And I like the last 2 episodes as well.
I do like about Stargate that they really wrote it like not as much individuals, but like we have to make this whole picture.
Parts of a whole. Yeah.
They are never as good if they're split up. So like any episode where they split up, I'm like, oh no. Even though I know that it turns out fine. But when they are all together, I like how that's written, and it really has friendship and teamwork as like one of the cores, I think, of the show. And I really, really like when that is like the core of a show or a movie. We've got to work together.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that really draws me to it, Atlantis in particular, because when I think about the situation that they have on Atlantis, so they're all from different countries. They're all scientists. They're all there for the same reason. And how often do we have that in our civilization now? So we have like the International Space Station. We have like teams that are in the Antarctic doing research, but very, very limited places in the world right now today where you could have all of those people from different countries working together for this common goal. And that's something that I loved about that. Like Van said, like the whole teamwork aspect and that being the way that's going to lead us forward. I don't know. I just feel like Stargate is very hopeful. I like, it was mentioned in the comments, I like that it's set essentially in the present to show us that this is also something that we could achieve. And it's exciting because I love that every episode, you never know where you're going to go when you dial the gate. It's like you never know for sure. And I just think what an exciting life that would be. Like you're doing research, you're doing science, you're doing medicine, whatever it is your specialty. But at the same time, you're also exploring these new worlds, new cultures, new languages. And I don't know, that just seems like the perfect place to have a job if you can't be on the Enterprise.
If you can't get Enterprise, Stargate, is a good substitute.
I think I would also love to be a puddle jumper pilot. I feel like Marty, puddle jumper pilot. Like,
I kind of feel like that's perfect, but like, would Tendi be a good puddle jumper pilot?
Might get distracted a little bit. Guys, let's just go through the gate without looking. We're not going to send them all through. We're just going to go through.
Okay, so we've been talking mostly about SG-1, but Mara has a point. Atlantis has a special vibe.
Yeah.
And what I like the most about Atlantis is that, one, we had native cultures. We had Taylor.
Yeah.
As Christina's pointing out in the comments. And then we had Weir, who I love to death because, like, she's a diplomat. And she's a good one. And she's a kind, caring person who absolutely served that kind of moral compass in the team as well. And she was it. Like, this was their, like, Voyager. Like, that, she had to make things work for a long time.
I think this is a great comment, too, about Taylor being this community advisor and a team member. It's almost serving a Deanna Troi role in a way, being a person that somebody can go to for emotional support. And I always appreciated that they added that in with Atlantis, that there was somebody there specifically that was playing the role of kind of a counselor character in a way.
Kind of a counselor character. Also kind of like, I'm going to say this, and it's not meant to be insulting. Like, Neelix was super important to Voyager because he understood the cultures that they were exploring. And I know, like, in Star Trek, they kind of made him like comic relief in a lot of episodes, but in a lot of episodes, he was like essential to their survival. And Taylor got to be that kind of essential, not comic relief person with that counselor like vibe. It was so important. So I mean, I loved Atlantis. I wish it had gone on for another 5 seasons, to be honest. I kind of hate that they killed it off. They also did have an actual therapist on Atlantis. I think they fridged her, though, didn't they? Like, in a dream episode or something? I might be mixing fandoms here. I don't remember, but I haven't done a full.
I'm currently
rewatch
doing a rewatch of Atlantis, so I'll let you know when I get to it.
Yeah.
I'm introducing my cats to Stargate since they haven't seen it yet. So
That's
I
really
mean,
important.
those cats need to know. Okay, are we ready to move on
Let's do it.
to the bad?
The bad worlds.
Yeah,
Let's
the
talk the bad worlds.
This was a really, really difficult choice for me. I
Find the
struggled.
image.
Oh, me too. I struggled, and I'll have to
bad.
explain to you guys my my reasoning for the ones I chose.
And I did not pick my least favorite world.
See,
ever,
me neither.
'cause I was like, no, I don't even want to talk about my least favorite worlds. Like,
Yeah. My least favorite worlds, I feel, are so close to our current world that I was like, I don't want to talk about our current world. So we're just going to talk about another world that I just probably would never want to live in, despite how cool it is. Because these worlds are all cool. You have to say, like, every world that's been chosen is cool.
They're all cool.
But if you had to live in it, like,
I did almost pick this world because I was like, this is the bad place. You know, this is the bad place.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, we don't want to talk about that. That's no fun. So I had to pick a world. There's our image, the classic Battlestar Galactica image that everyone knows.
I see my alter ego Gaius Baltar there.
He's
really
in my mind. I feel like I am season 1 Gaius Baltar, like half of the time.
Interesting.
I know it's horrible.
That's an interesting vibe.
It's an interesting vibe. Half Gaius Baltar, half Devon Attendee. Let's go with that. It's fun. It's a fun mix.
That is a mashup.
Explore that.
I would love to explore that sometime. Yeah.
But Van, why do you think BSG is a bad world to live in?
So depending on which number that you hear, because I know in one of the mini-series, one of the characters actually says like 50 billion people died on the attack of the 12 colonies. But then in another instance, it said it's only 20 billion. But let's say somewhere 20 billion people died. So like if you're an average person in this world, you're probably dead before the show starts. You know, you're dead. You're gone. It's over. The Cylons killed you. Okay, the Cylons didn't kill you. You're now on like this fleet of ships. You probably have a job that you hate. And it's probably given to you based on which ship you happen to be on. It's nothing to do with who you are. Maybe they figure out that you once did something like for 2 weeks as a teenager and they pull you off and make you do something else that you're not qualified for. It's not a fun life. It's not an easy life. Even like the people flying the Vipers are not having the best life. They're not living a good life. There's no coffee. Can we talk about the coffee? Yeah, life expectancy very low. You go seasons being chased by the Cylons. You figure out there's Cylons among you the whole time. Then you're like, oh yeah, we forgive the Cylons. It's fine. And now we're going to find a world where there are humanoids that can't even talk yet. We're going to live here and give up all technology and all hope of ever having coffee in our entire lives.
Spoilers.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, but then spoilers. on the flip side, you're a Cylon. Your life is also horrible.
Right. Because you get to
just
have
dying repeatedly. Yeah, that's fun.
Until they destroy the resurrection ship, and then you just die, and that's not something you've ever worried about before.
A whole new concern. But yeah, just dying and feeling
or you don't know
your death repeatedly.
You don't know you're a Cylon?
A whole other issue, not even knowing you're a Cylon and being a Cylon the whole time.
And then, like, God forbid you weren't on the Galactica. God forbid you were on Pegasus or whatever. Like,
yeah. No, there are so many, like, nobody's having a good time. Nobody's having a good time. Like, even the president is having a terrible time.
I
like,
mean,
the
you
whole
can't even
time.
find a decent cult to join.
You
know?
really cannot.
You've got Baltar's cult, and that's it.
So I have thoughts because at one point I was Mormon, and the show was written originally by Mormons, and a lot of. I'm not going to go into that because I will offend a ton of people. But yes, there's not a good cult to join here.
There's no good cult to join. Now, I say all of this, absolutely loving Battlestar Galactica. Having just finished another rewatch, having just worn a cosplay to the most recent con, having just bought this tank top strictly because it looked like a Battlestar Galactica tank top.
Oh yeah,
Amazon link in the bio, please.
It's from H&M.
Oh.
Susie sent me a picture. Well, Susie's mom sent them a picture, and then they sent me the picture, and I was like, "Where?" Yeah, H&M. It's so perfect.
I just think
I got distracted.
I got distracted by my pretty tank top.
Battlestar Galactica is one of my absolute favorite shows, and whenever somebody comes to me and asks me for writing advice, I say, if you want to be a good writer, you watch Battlestar Galactica or you watch Deep Space Nine, or you watch them both, because they're so intricate in their storytelling. They hit everything. You've got religion, you've got politics, you've got education, you've got military, you've got relationships. I mean, it's the full gamut of storytelling. So from a storytelling point of view, it's a perfect world. But if you had to live in that world, absolutely no. Absolutely no.
I love this. This part should be titled "How to Put Someone Off of Watching Battlestar Galactica."
No, this is why you should watch it, because this makes good storytelling. Like, perfect worlds are not fun to watch, or not fun to consume. We consume these bad worlds. We consume these bad worlds to help us deal with the world we already live in, right? Oh, look, it could be worse. We could be on the Pegasus.
It could be worse. We could be on the Pegasus. Exactly.
Or what was it? The Gemini ship, I think, was a pretty bad one.
I mean, so both were run by Ronald D. Moore, to Scott's point. So you're basically watching Ronald D. Moore's interpretation of the world around, which is oddly amazing, right? Like, he is one of my favorite showrunners because he did both these shows. And Deep Space Nine is my favorite Trek of all time.
I do adore Deep Space Nine.
Yeah. And I like that there are parallels between them. I mean, you see similar aspects of conflict between Deep Space Nine and BSG. And conflict makes for great storytelling. Perfect, happy, utopian worlds do not make for great storytelling unless you find out that there's a sinister dystopia underneath. We'll wait for that world in a few minutes. But yeah, I think Battlestar Galactica, oh man. I mean, is there any point at which that world, you want to live on that world? Before the Cylons attack at the beginning and maybe the ending, but even the ending,
maybe the very, very end.
The ending
the very beginning.
I'm not even sure if I like the ending though.
How do you go from I was on a ship that could jump across a galaxy to, okay, now I'm gonna be a hunter-gatherer with no indoor plumbing
and no coffee and no modern medicine. We're just going to give up. We're going to literally send all of our technology into the sun.
But they come to Earth where there's coffee. Coffee is on Earth.
As somebody who doesn't drink coffee, I mean, it's hard to be motivated by that. But I wouldn't want to live in that muddy sand pit that Baltar dropped us all on.
Right.
At least some place where it's not raining so much.
I feel like there is not really a point shown in the show itself that I would want to really live in. Possibly after, like, centuries after they landed.
Which we
We
are
do
living
get
in.
that little tiny clip at the end where they're back to technology. Maybe, but ugh,
But Caprica.
ugh.
So Ryan makes this comment that Caprica should have kept going as a series, and I do agree with that. Caprica, being the prequel, that world also not great, but the computer games were pretty cool.
I mean,
There's no point that I want to be in this universe, like, at all.
yeah,
I'd love to observe the train wreck.
yes, I
Yeah.
love this universe. I will always probably love this universe and continue to rewatch this universe, but I don't want to live there. And that's why it is the bad universe for me. I think it
The bad
would be
place.
horrible to live in any position. I None of it's good. None of it's good. But I
do have
love
to-
watching it.
Yeah, I do love watching it.
I do. Okay.
I have to point out here that Greg actually brought this up. This was almost the world I chose. I almost chose the world of Soylent Green for similar reasons to why I don't like Battlestar Galactica, because like overpopulation, like you don't want to live there. Like there's no people are like sleeping on staircases.
And
Like,
then they
no.
get eaten.
And then they get eaten by the other person on the staircase. So I just am like,
Okay. Are we ready?
Next universe.
We're ready.
Yeah, we can move on. Yay!
Dune, which I love this image. Perfect image. But also I had to put this one up because
That's fair.
you gotta have Sting in there.
this is like a non-binary
Okay.
queen there.
So full
For real.
disclosure, I have never read the books. I have never been able to successfully sit through and watch any of the movies until this week. Because of this podcast, it forced me to actually stay awake and consume Dune.
Wait, did the podcast force you to, or did the knowledge that I was going to shred you without mercy if you didn't, and you talked about it on the podcast, force you to actually watch it?
Okay, I feel like, yes,
Okay,
the fact that you're going to shred me is probably more motivation for me to have actually consumed any of this at all. Here's where I stand on Dune. Like I picked this before watching it because it put me to sleep, because this universe is boring as hide your kids. Fuck. It's boring as fuck. Period. So I watched it and I'm like, I was way too sober. I think there's no way. So I understand that the books are totally different. I understand that the miniseries is better. Here's the thing. The 1984 movie. Let's start there.
Okay.
Okay. Campy as hell. Love me some camp. Big Trouble in Little China. One of my favorite movies.
Patrick Stewart is
Patrick
hot.
Stewart.
Patrick
Sting.
Stewart
I
is
think we
hot.
just have to talk about that for just a second. And Sting is also
Sting
hot.
isn't Harkonnen. I mean, what?
Woo!
I mean, Suter was in this movie and you didn't tell me this.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just putting it out there that there's a lot of reasons to watch this movie and to try to stay awake that people could have said throughout the years, and they just never bothered with things that would appeal to me. And Sting is very interesting in that movie. Now, I did also watch the first movie of the new Dune and half of the second. Fell asleep last night watching the second half of the second because it was late, not because it
Very
was boring.
pretty.
Very pretty. This does not significantly improve my viewpoint of the universe at all. Okay, so here are my problems with this universe. They are 10,000 years in the future. There is one drug that makes it possible for them to navigate jumping through space. So the spacefaring race is dependent upon, spoilers, I guess, even though this has been around forever, worms. I
And worm
cannot.
piss.
Yeah.
I can go and synthesize some shit right now in a chemistry lab with our knowledge, and you're telling me that it's a hard thing to do for people 10,000 years in the future? Granted, in the 1984 Dune, they seem to be more troubled by the fact that this dude who's in charge has boils all over his body and just randomly floats into the air. If you're a regular person in this universe, you're just waiting to have a heart plug pulled out of you. Or you're going to be mining worm crap to feed the space sperm who navigate the universe for the rich.
Also, I mean, you can't even, like, I feel bad for the worms because, like, you know, we haven't even gotten to the part where, like, they're like taking worms off world, you know? These poor worms.
Yeah.
Just let them live their life.
Joseph isn't ready for that one.
I mean, I think the problem is Kevin Bacon's not in this universe. If he were in this universe, it instantly jumps up to the good list, right?
I feel like that's probably true. Yeah.
I am just saying that there were some amazing actors in this movie. There's some amazing actors in both versions of this movie that I have seen. And still, I cannot for the life of me understand why anybody loves this fucking universe, because it is absolutely the most boring, the most depressing shit I have ever seen in my life. Like, everybody's just trying to kill each other for worm shit, and I cannot understand why they can't just live on their planets and be happy. Like, okay, we can't navigate space, but we've got a perfectly functional planet with water, but we're going to fight over this desert planet, over this narcotic that somehow makes it possible for you to navigate life. I mean, I feel like there's maybe some, like, you know, interesting points that I'm not picking up on, but...
Drugs are addictive. Spice is a drug. You do have to kind of approach it realizing that most of the people are addicted to a drug, first off.
Basically, what I'm getting at...
Which is why they forgot chemistry, apparently.
I mean, basically what I'm getting out of this is that Joseph is really excited for the prequel series on HBO that's coming out this year.
He really is. He's very excited about it, as am I. I really want that, actually. I'm here for it.
I went from falling asleep because of this show and this movie to now I'm going to watch everything I can so I can hate on it more. Like,
so
this
did
is
you
all
watch
Tear them apart, Dan. Tear them apart.
I did not do that yet. I will do it.
To baby James McAvoy yet?
Oh. It's so much fun. It's so much fun.
Is it though? What was like that like hula hooping scene? Okay, well, let's get off that.
Okay. So I can agree with you. It's not the most fun to read for me personally. It does get very political. And I think the writing it's like reading Tolkien, but instead of hearing about a really cool bush and a really cute little Glen for 5 pages, you get like 5 pages of politics about somebody that maybe you really hear something about later, or you don't. It's fine. It does get very political, and really boring to read.
You're really selling this, by the way.
They run around riding worms.
Riding the worm seems cool.
That's not fun.
Okay, so the saving grace of this universe for you is the fact that they can ride a worm into battle.
Save the worms.
Yeah.
I feel bad for the worms. I'm on the worm side.
I'm on the worm side. I wish the worms would just eat everybody and put me out of my misery. I am Team Worm.
The worms aren't the only good thing, but you're gonna look at me and tell me that riding a worm wouldn't change your life. You're gonna look at me and say, "Yeah, riding a worm, that would not be life changing."
Somebody
while super high with blue eyes for some reason, because
That's the
Red
spice.
Shot was. Yeah, I get it's the spice.
It's the spice, air quotes, spice.
It's the spice.
Yeah, no,
So my issue with the Dune universe, because I'm a fan. I do like the Dune universe. But my issue with living there, I kind of have to give this to Joseph. If you are the average person, you are like the average person in the Dune universe is poor as shit. If you are the average person in the Dune universe, your life sucks, especially if you're living on Arrakis. I mean, like, good luck.
Oh my God.
I mean, you're living in these sand pits. That's horrible. But you only have a good life in this universe if you are part of a small number of rich, wealthy families that have like political motivation. And if you are in the wrong rich, wealthy family, your life also sucks. So
I mean,
that starts like, what the hell?
I feel like it's not a universe you want to live in. I agree with that. I cannot argue with that at all, because if you're not a rich royalty, yeah, your life sucks. But also, like, they don't have great lives either. Like,
I
sure,
already live in
they
this
have,
universe,
like,
by the
some
way, with minus the
comfy
spice.
comforts, but
Sorry.
like they're running around like plotting against each other and trying to kill each other, and like marriages between families are really weird and creepy. It's not a good universe to live in. I give you that, Joseph. I will
oh
give
yeah,
you
those
that.
the Benny Gesserit are definitely going to make you marry your brother, your sister, your cousin.
Oh, yeah,
like, you've got no choice there. Like,
Okay.
Why did
so
you have a boy instead of a girl? So the girl could marry her cousin?
cousin, I think. Yeah,
So
cousin.
here's the
Maybe his
thing.
cousin.
You're poor as shit if you're not one of the few rich elite families.
Yeah.
Drugs are overwhelming, and you have horrible healthcare, even if you're rich. Like, I
Yes.
live in the United States. I already live here. Minus the worms. Minus the
Weird
worms.
But
That-
on
you
the
need
cool
worms.
side, you get to ride worms.
Yeah.
Fashion is pretty on point in the Dune universe. Whether
Fashion
it's the
is
1984
every
universe or
single-
the newer version, I feel like
All of them.
fashion is
All of
like
them.
it's quality. And when you fight, you can wear those like cool like shields, personal shields. I do like
The
those.
shields are
The personal
shields are
shields are
fun.
really fun.
Personal shields are cool.
Drinking
But those
your
are
own sweat.
the only things I like. I think the worms, the fashion, and the personal shields. Yeah.
Drinking your own
Everything
sweat
else-
is not appealing.
Drinking my own sweat is also.
I
not
mean,
appealing, no.
yeah, let's just sweat. That's what they drink. Just sweat. Uh-huh.
Okay. The
Uh-huh.
implications I didn't understand until I thought about it for a little longer. It's like, oh, okay. It's not just sweat, it's also
It's everything.
All water is precious. All water is precious.
I'm having flashbacks to my anatomy lab course.
Fair.
All water is not precious. All water smells. It stinks.
this is correct. This is correct.
I can't argue with that.
Okay. So I think we've beat up on Dune. I
Can
feel
we
better.
get any worse than that? I feel like
Sorry,
the
sorry, no,
one-
make your point. Make your point.
The
Sorry.
Matrix. No, I was going to say some of the things that I like about the Dune universe are the only things I like about the Matrix universe. So like here are my
Where's the other photo, Joseph? I downloaded 2 Matrix photos just to mess with you. Did you see my edition?
Did I see your edition? Let me find it. Hold on a second.
I added it just for you.
So it was as an addendum here. It was very difficult for me to choose a bad world because my list of bad worlds was like a full sheet of paper long because I realized I hate almost every world because they all suck. But a lot of them I was like, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about The Handmaid's Tale. I don't want to talk about The Boys, even though those are like the top 2 worlds I hate the most. So we're going to talk about The Matrix.
I could not make it through one episode of The Boys. Maybe I did not send you that photo, Joseph. I'm sorry. I meant to
Yeah, I
send
don't
you
have it.
the photo of the woman in the red dress just to mess with you.
Oh my god.
Well, so here's the thing. Okay, so things I like about the Matrix world. We'll start there. I
Yeah.
like the fashion. Everybody looks
Oh my God.
fantastic.
Fashion's amazing.
Everybody looks awesome. I love everybody's hair. Everybody's hair is on point, especially the newest Matrix, that blue hair. I want that. That was fantastic. I love that you can instantly learn Kung Fu.
Right.
That's so up my alley. Like, teach me now. Like, I want to learn it. Like, I want to download all this information. And Hugo Weaving is nice to look at. Everything else is horrible. This world it absolutely is a bummer, because you have two choices here. You know, you take the one pill and you live the world that we already live in, which already sucks, you know. And we don't even have payphones anymore, so it sucks even more. So like, you take the one pill and you live in the world we already live in, or you take the other pill and you get spit out of this gooey gelatinous like tub of naked gooey, I'm just born, I can't even see, and the world is this massive, horrible Terminator dystopia. I'm like, you're basically living in the Terminator dystopian world.
But you're a battery.
See, but that's not a good thing.
No.
Like, it's like, and the thing is if you choose the pill, if you have your choice is basically to live in delusion, and it's not even a happy delusion. It's like normal world delusion, which is like, if my normal life is like the delusion, like I'm not going to choose that. Or I choose the real world where I can be my real self, and I'm forced to fight in this revolution because that's all there is. I don't know. I wouldn't want to live in this world.
Because a major software company. Sorry, go ahead.
If I were forced to live in this world, I would absolutely happily stay plugged in as a battery. Just let me continue in this shitty world. Do not make me get out there and fight. Don't do that to me. I don't want to live.
But they don't even give you they don't even give you a true choice, because like, I even like Morpheus is like, they tell you, oh, you can continue living in this like fake world, or you can be in the real world, but they don't tell you what the real world is like. And then you wake up in your real world and you're like, shit, what did I do? I made the wrong choice.
I don't even know how to use my muscles.
I'm just like,
oh my god, you're atrophied. Like everything.
Yeah.
You go from like, oh, I know Kung Fu now to
I've never breathed before. I've never opened my eyes before. Like, I've never eaten before. Like, can you imagine like the intestinal digestive pain you have on that first week? God. I have enough intestinal problems as it is. I don't need to be like coming out of like a goo vat, unable to process solid food.
Absolutely not. Like, just leave me plugged in.
Oh,
but yeah, you don't get an actual choice. You don't get informed choice. Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Is.
The woman in the red dress.
Did I just see that? Deja vu. What?
Yeah.
Did you guys see that? I guess one cool thing is that you get a super awesome hacker name.
Always.
And I am a person who's always wanted like an awesome hacker name. So if somebody wants to give me one, that would be great. Like, what's my Matrix name? But like, I don't know.
Tendi. My Matrix name is Van. See,
I like
done. Man, we're cool. It's over.
I don't have a cool hacker name.
That's really disappointing, Joseph.
It's Panda.
Oh no, it is.
I'm just kidding. I saw it in the chat. Somebody else said it first.
I hate this universe so much. Because the only part of this universe I can consume and not hate is the first movie. Everything else sucks afterwards. Sorry. Like, it needed to end, and they never needed a sequel, or a sequel to a sequel, or a sequel to that sequel. Like, this entire universe is just horrendous. Peak Pike for Marty. I mean, that's
I
a good
like
one
it.
for you.
Yeah, I need to cut my hair. Yeah, I feel like there's no happiness in this world. You live in the delusion, knowing that you're in a delusion. It's not real. It's fake. There's no happiness in that world. You choose the real world, and equally as or more unhappy. There's no like opportunity for joy. Like you can't have hobbies in the Matrix universe. Your hobbies are learning kung fu as quickly as possible so that you can join the fight.
Yeah.
And possibly being slaughtered by machine robots.
Or learning how to be a computer hacker, or being like the only owner of a telephone company that still has like landlines, because I guess that would maybe be useful in that world. But your options are very limited. It's like
there's no sunlight.
It's like the Terminator universe. Like you have no control. The AI has control. There's no sunlight. Yeah, so you're going to be like, not only are you going to be bald and pasty and atrophied and unable to like eat and digest your food, but you are also going to be the color of like raw salmon, the underside of raw salmon for the rest of your life.
Oh my God.
No, I mean, I would not want to live there. But if I had to, definitely leave me plugged in and delusional. Like,
do you want to know the disappointing part of this whole thing?
What?
Living in that universe right now.
I know, right?
You know, we probably are, and I hope that the juice I'm making, my little robot, makes them happy and brings them joy.
I feel like my little robot is like been digging in the same spot, because it's like it's confused. It got slightly unplugged. It doesn't remember what its initial command function is, and it just keeps digging in the same spot. And I'm just like,
my little robot is just like randomly punching other robots.
My robot's like, we need a hole here. I'm just gonna start. I can't remember why I'm doing this, and now I don't know. I just
okay. But before we go too far, this dress is not the same as this dress.
Absolutely
and
not.
If you are a nerd who says that they are,
facts.
For those listening, when I dressed as Caprica 6 for the recent con, somebody came up and asked me if I was the woman in the red dress from The Matrix. They are both blondes wearing red dresses, which I understand. I understand to a certain extent. We're not all very good at recognizing the differences in clothing and hairstyles. I accepted that. That's fine. When he said that they're basically the same character, my mind went blank and I felt violence take a hold of me. So I just said, yeah, anyways.
Absolutely not the same character at all. I mean, you've one character has a split second in the show. Yeah. The other character is like the defining element of the entire show.
Yes. I mean, they're both very distracting. I will give him that.
Uncultured swine in these fandoms.
I'm pretty sure that Joseph felt like screaming that repeatedly.
I mean, if you were standing next to somebody dressed as Neo or Trinity, I would give them that.
I feel like that might have been more excusable. Like that would have made sense, even if I was standing next to somebody dressed in all black. But I wasn't. I was standing next to Ken.
Next time,
Joseph was running around as Ken. I should have been called Barbie.
Next time, you should just stare at him and not say anything. And when he goes, "Did you hear me?" you should just be like, "Sorry, I'm downloading Kung Fu."
That would have been perfect. Okay. Sorry, I had to go through that sidebar because I'm still mad about that whole thing.
Joseph was so mad about the lack of people who even commented on my cosplay.
I'll go as Gaius Baltar with you guys to a cosplay.
I'm sold. Let's do it.
Okay. Sorry. Back to our episode.
Back to our episode where we're being serious and not just complete chaos. Yeah.
Well, we're about to enter chaos because we're going to start talking about the fun worlds, right?
Yes. This was a very difficult decision also.
Yes.
I feel
like all of these options are controversial, but
yeah.
Yes.
Obviously, if anyone who knows me is listening, I picked Jurassic Park as the fun universe. Why not? First off, dinosaurs. Second off, dinosaurs. Third off, dinosaurs. Okay, the next like 5,000 reasons are also dinosaurs.
Ian Malcolm's in there though, right?
And
yeah, when we get to 5001, we get to Ian Malcolm. But most of them are dinosaur related. Now the science in Jurassic Park, Jurassic World is a little iffy. And I'm not just talking about the bringing dinosaurs back to life. We were watching Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom yesterday. And I was like, that's not how volcanoes work. You would be dead. Okay, you're dead again. Wow, you cannot do that, actually. Yeah, I know that the lava didn't actually touch you, but you being that close. So also, there's just no poisonous gas here with the volcano? That should be studied. Like, that alone should be studied.
The plexiglass was amazingly strong as well.
Except when it doesn't need to be.
Exactly.
It is plot strong. Like, it's only strong when it's plot dependent.
I like that, plot strong. I'm going to start using that.
I love Jurassic Park, and I love the book. I read the book, the first book. I read the second book.
That's great.
I love
the science in the first book. Not actually that far off. We could technically do those things if we could find a stable DNA sample, which we have not yet been able to find. But the science was shockingly good. Speaking as somebody who used to work in genetics, I love it.
Want to resurrect extinct species, and we are getting very, very close to doing so, but with more recently extinct species than dinosaurs, unfortunately.
Mammoth, the mastodon is coming back.
I need one. I need one. Obviously, there are a lot of really cool animals that we will probably bring back in the next couple of decades. We are very close. It's fantastic. Actual dinosaurs happening, probably not, but mostly because we are not going to find enough like DNA to actually do it. All that being said, if we could, dinosaurs. Okay. I want to live in a world with dinosaurs.
I just love this world too, because it's a world where you can be the nerdy science person and people will eventually, I'm not going to say right away, but eventually will listen to you.
Eventually.
So you do have some sway, at least until another bigger corporation comes and swoops in and ignores you. But I like scientists being like heroes. So
I agree with that very much. I think outside of the newer movies with their like questionable science, overall everything kind of works out okay. Like the world gets dinosaurs and we get to like visit with them after dealing with like the drama of people being capitalists. We end up with legit dinosaurs in the world, and that's okay.
And I love that.
I do love dinosaurs. Okay, quick, everybody. What was your favorite like dinosaur as a child?
Ankylosaurus.
Triceratops.
I always say it wrong, but the Parasaurolophus, Ducky.
Parasaurolophus. They're so cute.
Ducky was my favorite as a kid.
I get that.
Ducky. Trauma.
Spike.
Yeah.
I love that we have favorite dinosaurs.
I'm only friends with people that have favorite dinosaurs. If you don't have a favorite dinosaur, I can't be your friend. It's the rules.
Okay, so
I think I agree. It's a fun universe.
So
to ride a
giant sloth. Okay, so I mean, I have seen the skeletons of these things. We
Scary.
actually could get the DNA for the giant ground sloths, and they would be epic to ride into battle.
It would be a really slow battle.
It
slow ride.
would be the slowest of the slow battles, but
Slow rider.
I
Going into battle.
I love dinosaurs. I also love like the giant mammals that happened afterwards. Like there's so many cool things. They're like terror birds, like
the Irish elder.
Oh, yes.
We could have so many cool animals that went extinct. We could have them. We could pet them. We could keep them forever.
You could grow up to be a raptor trainer.
Oh my goodness, they're so cute.
I mean,
you could have a whole herd.
Look, if the world is real and you're living in the world,
herbivores,
then you could be a raptor trainer.
Yeah, but like actual velociraptors are like the size of chickens, right? They're not like.
I know, but like this world, they're not. In this world, they're like.
Listen.
Fine, I'll just have an army of Dilophosauruses.
Yes, that would be fun too.
I honestly want
spit on my enemies.
I want a T-Rex.
Yes.
You want a T-Rex?
I want a T-Rex.
Where are you gonna put a T-Rex? Where are you gonna put a T-Rex?
I've got 76 acres. Like
you've got plenty of space. You're fine.
That's space.
What I don't want is I don't want to have like the one thing that would suck about living in the Jurassic Park universe is that like you might get compies in your yard. Like, how are you gonna get rid of those guys?
I would not.
I don't want compies in my yard.
I would feed them.
Like, if I had a yard full of Gallimimus, okay, but a yard full of compies, like, I'd never leave my house.
I would. To throw them food.
But they're like ankle biters. They're like ankle biters. Like, just en masse coming at you.
I mean, they're like chickens.
I wonder what they taste like.
Haven't you been around an aggressive chicken? It's fine.
I mean, they probably taste like chicken.
They probably do taste like chicken.
I'm sorry that I went there. You have to forgive me. I'm still Chinese, and I wonder how things taste. So,
I would try dinosaur. I like poultry in general, and all the reptiles I've ever eaten have been pretty tasty too. So, I try dinosaur.
I don't. I mean, maybe.
Gator's delicious.
What?
Gator is delicious.
Yeah, but like
gator is so tasty.
I don't know. I have trouble eating carnivores.
I understand.
So maybe if it's like not a carnivore, but not ducky. I'm not gonna eat ducky.
Anyway, let's not talk about eating our dinosaur pets. Let's we can't keep on track.
On the Jurassic Park menu.
I mean,
which, if you want to talk about creepy food worlds, I mean, what do they eat in Pokemon? Think about that. Okay.
I don't like thinking about that. Don't analyze
Marty.
Pokemon at all. Not even just overanalyze.
I had this conversation with somebody recently. This came up in conversation with somebody recently, and I was like, what do they eat in the Pokemon universe? Did we?
I think we did.
The Pokemon world almost made my good world. I did consider it, but this is like one of the things about it that I was like, what do they eat?
Obviously vegetables.
Lots of vegetables, but you see meat in a lot of the foods that you see them eat.
Squirtle is delicious. Sorry.
Yeah. It's one of those things where you just don't talk about it because it's a kid's show. Like, where do these animals get their food? That's not important. Let's not talk about that. That's fine. We can move on.
Let's move on to Godzilla.
Let's move from one dinosaur to another dinosaur.
Look, Godzilla. My favorite version of Godzilla is like the old, like cheesy version of Godzilla. But okay, this is my fun universe. Yes. Granted, not if I'm living in Tokyo necessarily. So early Godzilla movies, even some of the newer Godzilla movies, he's not really down with people in Japan, and that's really unfortunate. But eventually, in classic Godzilla, he becomes a protector of the world against other bad things, aliens, and who doesn't want like 100-story tall dinosaur walking around breathing fire on your enemies? Like that is kind of fun.
Yeah, but
Like
you get the enemies.
Monster Island is like a cool place to be. I feel like Godzilla is just misunderstood. Here he was living his best life as like an iguana or whatever, and he gets irradiated and he turns into a giant monster. Okay, he's going to be a little grumpy when he wakes up. Obviously,
I feel like that's
grumpy.
fair.
Right?
It just sounds like me.
Like, you get irradiated, you wake up, and you're like suddenly super big. I'd be a little pissed off too, right? And so you're gonna like just smash a few things, but later on you realize, okay, these are not the bad guys. And oh my god, there's Monster X. Let me take care of Monster X. And then Mothra.
I love Mothra though. I don't want Mothra to go.
Mothra is so cute.
Mothra is like a positive influence on the world. I feel like Godzilla gives us the ability to come together as a society to figure out how to take care of giant monsters who just want to be left alone. Also, the roar. Like, come on.
Classic.
It is beautiful.
Godzilla?
Yeah. But like, can you imagine you're walking the streets, you're heading to work, and then you hear that roar and then your eardrums are gone. Like, I don't know about that, but
look, if I'm gonna die, I want to die because Godzilla decided to use atomic breath, and it's just like epic. It's like, okay, well, the only thing that would kill me is Godzilla's atomic breath. Like, come on.
I feel like if I lived in the Godzilla universe, I just wouldn't live in a big city and it would be fine.
Or you do,
Good
and
point.
you just become friendly with Godzilla, and he takes care of you. Like, come on.
I mean, I would like to ride Godzilla to work. That would be
I
cool.
mean, if we can make that happen, if Mothra and I can be best friends.
Right? And
Yeah.
like baby Godzilla, adorable.
So cute.
Oh, I want baby Godzilla.
So cute.
Right? I'm just saying, Tokyo has a bad time, but the rest of the world gets to watch baby Godzilla.
That's fair.
True.
So stay out of Tokyo.
Right. Or, like just feed Godzilla and give him some space and everything's okay.
Or as Ryan says, stay away from the beach. Just don't live near the beach.
You know what? I already make that a life goal. I want to be nowhere near the coast. I'm too close as it is. But yeah, no, I can do that.
Being in Houston and dealing with hurricanes, I'm okay with not being by the beach. Maybe a lake.
It's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. Don't be near the coast.
I mean, I'm just not a beach person in general, so like as we all can see, I mean, my skin, the color of the raw underside of salmon, does not do well in the sunlight. So I'll get a good view of Godzilla from my mountain home.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it would be fun. It would be a ton of fun.
This was a good choice. I agree.
I think it would be fun. Too. I actually thought about was there an anime world or something that I wanted to live in? And they were also so depressing. But Godzilla is a good choice for a world.
It would be super fun.
All the anime that I watch is super. Dragon Ball, maybe Dragon Ball, maybe.
See, I was really into Evangelion. I'm like, I want the jumpsuit, I want the mecha, but I'm like, oh, but I'll probably die fighting one of those angels. So I don't know.
Right, like Evangelion was good. I watched Macross. There's always such a negative part of the mecha.
Yeah.
Right. So Gundam also had very bad politics.
But awesome hair.
Awesome hair.
I mean,
Dragon
everybody
Ball
wants Geo
was
Maxwell
fun.
hair.
Dragon Ball's fun because for the most part, people survive. And then you get to watch Goku like be a badass, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, but I
anyway.
think all in all, I think I would rather have Godzilla. I'd rather live in the Godzilla world. Even the newer Godzilla movie worlds, I feel like.
I think
even the Matthew Broderick Godzilla world, I think I would be okay with.
Didn't really have to roar though, so
that's true.
That's a non-starter for me. I like the movie; it's campy as hell, but it wasn't Godzilla. It was
the roar is important.
It really is. And then the music, like,
yeah.
Okay, last one.
Oh, it's my turn. Yes,
Westworld.
This is controversial, I know, because there's a lot of like. There are issues here with sentience, but like at its core, if I could live in a world where I could like go to the theme park and LARP for the rest of my life as a character from the Old West, I would totally be like Ed Harris's character, and I would spend all of my money and I would go there every day like I lived there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do the bad things that he does. I feel like okay. Let's
do this in my head.
Let's go there.
Wow, I feel really left out. You both have on your little cowboy hats, and I'm over here. I have nothing cowboy hat.
Like I feel like there's obviously a lot of like issues here with like the sentience of the workers at the theme parks, but like in general, and the fact that it's not just Westworld. There are other worlds that you could go to and explore. But like I would be like Ed Harris and spend my entire life in Westworld probably. Just because I would get to ride horses. I get to like, I don't know, live the cowboy life. But then still go back to my hotel room and have like things
indoor
that you
plumbing.
need. Like indoor plumbing,
water.
Yeah. Right.
Medicine.
I don't know, I've always
AC.
I've always wanted to like LARP, and I've never LARPed. And I just feel like Westworld is the epitome of like it. That is like you live it. You are living the LARP life.
It's like a holodeck.
It is. Yeah, it's like a holodeck.
It is.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, if you're living in that world and you are one of the androids, your life sucks. And then everybody's life sucks by the end.
And then you end up in the Matrix.
Yeah. So it was a short-lived fun world. Turned into the Matrix.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm down with Westworld. I think it would be tons of fun. Android rights aside.
Yeah. Android rights aside, it would be super fun. I love the concept of just running around and okay, there's this cool fictional world. It is just a big holodeck, and I love that. I want that technology. But maybe not having holograms that gain sentience, and maybe not androids that also do. I mean, it does have its downsides, apparently.
Yeah, it has its downsides.
And you can't say computer and program. So.
Yeah,
that's true.
Kind of hoping something would happen. Anyway.
You're in the Matrix. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Got a pill somewhere, I'm sure. Anyway.
It's actually a hot tamale.
Yeah.
They look like hot tamales, right? The red pill looks like a hot tamale. I'm just saying. Okay. Maybe that's a good thing about the Matrix. You get to eat a hot tamale if you choose the red pill.
It's a hot tamale or a Advil liquid gel.
I feel like I would pick the hot tamale.
I mean,
I guess it depends on if it's the morning. I probably need the Advil.
Yeah, I definitely started my morning with the Advil. So
We
are so much fun, y'all.
I swear this was water. This wasn't vodka. I promise.
I promise nothing.
Coffee. I had coffee this whole time.
This is
Trek bro tears.
Yes. Well, you need something salty. when you wake up.
And when you're
All
talking
these
about
flavors,
salty
and
places.
I always pick salty.
You know,
And you
salty's
say you
good.
don't want to live in the Dune world. He's already drinking tears, folks.
He's ready. He's ready.
Okay.
But
I think we're done.
Are we though?
Before we make our conclusion, do we want to discuss what we are going to be talking about next time?
Yes, I am very excited.
I already forgot what we said.
We are talking about duos. Duos.
Yes.
Our favorite character dynamic duos. In
Characters
science
that are
fiction and
great
fantasy.
apart, but better together.
Exactly.
I have so many ideas.
I mean, I think we're going to have to make a list
I think so too.
and then we're going to have to cut it.
But if you are part of this and you want to send in your suggestions of your favorite sci-fi fantasy character duos,
Woo woo.
send us your comments on TikTok or Instagram or wherever you find us, and we'll consider them.
Yes, we will.
We will.
Yes. So, I guess, are we concluding? So that concludes A Mirror Darkly. We're glad that you tagged along with us today. Please give us a like and a subscribe if you haven't already, and share our podcast with all of your friends and family, even the ones who do like the Dune universe. That's okay. They can tag along as well.
Going out to explore. Tune in comes to another Frakkin Podcast. Time travel, wormholes, and more. Chevron's locked on another Frakkin Podcast. Debating all the lore. We get signal of another Frakkin Podcast. Nerdy topics galore. Systems go for another Frakkin Podcast.